Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me today on episode number 10 of the Strictly Business Podcast. I have Wez Hone, a 14-year experienced business coach and entrepreneur. I'm sure you are going to find this podcast very valuable. Before you do watch it though, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, ring the bell, and give us a thumbs up. Thank you so much.
I've been interested in business as far back as I can remember. My earliest memories were playing checkbook and playing banker and all this sort of stuff in my spare time. And my first unofficial business was my first year of high school. I grew up in London, or just outside London, and I remember juggling was the craze, and so I set out, making juggling balls and buying chickpeas and cutting up my board shorts and giving people instructions on how to juggle and selling them at lunch. And that was a really cool little business. That abruptly ended though when the principal came and saw me and said, "If you don't quit, you're going to get expelled." And then from there, I just had a whole bunch of jobs. And then at 19, I was back in London. I moved to Australia at 14. Went back to London at 19 and set up my first window cleaning business. And from that day to day, have built and sold 8 companies, spanning software and retail and professional services and a whole bunch of stuff. And the largest of those I took into 5 countries around the world and sold in 2011. And been business coaching since 2006. It was a natural progression for me to kind of want to, not only build one business for myself, but help hundreds of other people do the same. And that's what we kind of been doing. I live on the Gold Coast, or just south of the Gold Coast of Australia. I'm in a little beach town called Kingscliff.
Yep.
And I've got a wife, Kimberly, and 3 beautiful little girls. So that's a bit of the rap sheet. My entire motivation though is to get up every single day and rally a large group of what we call kingdom entrepreneurs, people that use business to actually fix society's issues, right? And get away from this centered, this personal driven capitalistic world, right? We're trying to do businesses that actually benefit people.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I think one of the things that when I started a business, I was the most unprepared for it. I was only 24 years old. I just come out of the agency world, working on my main specialty is search engine optimization and content marketing. And when I came out of that, I thought, I could give business a crack. My wife said, that it was my fiance at the time, said, you're passionate about what you do. Whereas I made every single mistake in the book. Okay. If there was a mistake that no one else has made, I managed to make it. Like things as dumb as.
Well, I mean, if you only made it once, then is it a mistake?
No, that's right. But I was like charging GST when I wasn't even registered. Like,
that's smart, but it's illegal.
yeah. Well, that's what so what would be, for those about to get into business, what would be some of your sort of tips before actually, taking that plunge? Because I was extremely unprepared. I think money, we had a chat about this on YouTube about the whole, it's not about how many resources you have, it's about being resourceful. I don't necessarily think money and having the right amount of resources necessarily knowing when the right time is to launch a business. I think it's definitely education, training, and mindset. But where do you stand with that?
Oh, I totally agree with you. I mean, like if you look at the landscape of the last 5 to 10 years, there is this culture that has crept in of, as soon as you get a business idea, you go and raise capital.
Yeah.
And obviously it has worked for a handful of businesses in this world, typically in the tech space. So raising capital is fine, but it's got to be paid back, right? So, or at least if you want to do a share buyback, you've got to raise enough money to buy it back. So I'm like, well, like the way that the vast majority of businesses go is right at the start when you're looking to start up a business, just start selling. Selling is the answer, right? And there's no barriers to selling. You pick up a phone, you get a list of people and you call them and say, whatever, can I come and talk to you? Can I pitch? Can you buy this from me? It's a lost art, right? And so what it does is it actually proves your concept a lot quicker. You go and raise $1 million or $10 million or whatever, and then you start to build your machine. You haven't actually got proof of concept yet. Whereas if you jump on the phone and start telling, the market will tell you real quick whether there's a proof of concept. And so that, that's the thing for me. Like I remember the business that I said I sold in 2011, I started it in 2009, and I wasn't 100% sure that it was going to work. And so my way of kind of getting around that was, what I did was I jumped on the phone. I booked an entire day's meetings of people that I thought could be a good candidate for this product. And I literally just saw people back to back for 10 hours, right? So 20 clients over 10 hours. And I just basically pitched to them, here's the product. I think you'd be a good fit, da, 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 da. And I basically ended by going, this product's going to be $6,000. I'll let you buy it today at $3,000, but I'm not 100% sure when it's going to be ready. It could be 1 or 2 or 3 months. And half the people said yes. So not only did I have proof of concept because they'd voted with their wallet, I also had the capital to finish the product to be able to take it to market. So I just prefer that model of just do the hand-to-hand combat, get in there, and it gives you the confidence that people want to buy it, and it gives you a bit of money to keep pressing forward.
Okay. And I mean, I didn't really send you this particular question, so I'm really throwing you off. I'm not, what happens, okay, so what about with the Tony Robbins sort of method where you're either an entrepreneur, a manager, or the actual worker when you start a business? I wouldn't classify myself as a natural entrepreneur. I would just classify myself as a digital marketer. I self-proclaimed romantic marketer, and I'll talk about why I call myself the romantic marketer. But I'm not a sales guy. So the whole idea of cold calling is much like this podcast, Wes, scares the crap out of me. This is very uncomfortable for me, right? So how do I transition into overcoming the natural sort of, I guess, apprehension that I have towards making cold calling, or do I sort of say, okay, which is what I've done since COVID, transition just a little bit out of marketing and focus purely on sales? So do I hire someone to help me with what I'm not great at first, or what would? This is a question I've completely thrown at you.
It's great. I mean, either's going to be okay. What's not going to be okay is not doing it, right? A lot of people get uncomfortable with sales, and so they just don't do any.
Yeah.
Well, that you're gonna build a tiny business if that's the way. So you've either got to go and employ someone, and by the way, some businesses say, well, I don't have $100,000 for a good salesperson. Great, so bring them on as a partner. Right, you might have to give away 20% of your company to pay them a small wage and then let them earn it out in commissions. Either way, it gets you started. That's one way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me thinks, so you don't enjoy it. Cry me a river. Like, we've all got stuff that we don't enjoy all day, every day, right? And I just think, you know what, that could be a good opportunity to put on a big boy pants or a big girl pants and just do it anyway. Yeah. Awesome. We generally have no problem walking up to somebody at a barbecue and saying g'day, or ringing somebody at church and saying g'day. Like, it's the same thing. It's just that you don't know them, right? So yeah, I don't know. I feel like because there is a bit of a culture these days of, only do what you're passionate about, or, you need to be happy every day of your life, and it's utter rubbish from my point of view, right? There's always going to be things that we don't enjoy if we want to push ourselves out of our comfort zone and get something we haven't got. So, if it's calls, I have an entire sales machine now, but it was me at the start. Yeah. I'm the one that jumped on the phone ringing randoms. I was the one that would go to a certain area and knock at the door and walk in and say, can I talk to you? And 95 out of 100 were fully not interested. And very occasionally get somebody rude. But for the most part, they just say no. But you get to meet those people that say yes. And, if you don't have a marketing budget, like you were saying, it's never about the money, right? No, it's all about your creativity. If you don't have the money, just go and do those kind of strategies. You can pick up the phone, you can knock on doors, you can see people, and people will say yes if you do big enough numbers. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just not a fan of that culture of, I'm building a business around me and my skills and my gifts. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't see many businesses that build big that start like that. You've got to do it until such time as you can afford to bring somebody else in.
Well, I mean, that's perfect. I mean, there's an Instagram profile, RX_painters, and he called me 2 years ago, Wes, and he basically said to me, I can't afford SEO. What would you recommend that I do to build my business from a marketing perspective? I said, well, yeah, I can't help you with sales, mate, because I don't know anything myself, right? But with digital, I know content marketing. I'm an SEO guy. You can't afford it. I would tell you every time you go to a job, and you can look him up, RX_painters. I'll put it up after when I edit. But I said, just every job you go to, every single job, just record it. You've got an iPhone, right? You've got a phone that's probably got a 10 megapixel camera on it, right? So there's no excuses. Just every job you go to, Howard, just take a few minute clip, record it, and post it on Instagram. Wez, he has a bigger Instagram profile than I do. He has now he's killing it. He was so busy that 2 years after, which was last year, he couldn't even paint my balcony. And I thought, as a favor, the guy would return a favor at least, right? He was that busy. And if you look at his profile, it blew up because all he does is just go, his sales strategy is, I'm going to demonstrate my expertise by every single job I go to, video recording it. And that's what I'm really passionate about, that storytelling. And so you can demonstrate expertise and credibility, and the jobs are just inbound. He doesn't even have to pick up a phone and call, which good. I think it's fantastic. And now he actually is on TikTok. I mean, how many painters you know on TikTok? I mean, how awesome is that? So he's on TikTok. Now. We're one now. Yeah. He's on TikTok. He's on Instagram. He's on Facebook. He's on YouTube. He just keeps pumping. And what I love about him is he's really exceptional at engagement. So if someone writes a comment, bang, it's replied back.
Very good.
So I love it. But that was going to be a whole topic in itself. I was going to get touching, but I got too excited. So what would be, obviously you've been in it for a long time, business coaching. So, I mean, I find I struggle with the whole scalability issue. So I'm exclusive. So I only want to work with small amounts of clients. And so if I deal with one criminal lawyer, I'm not going to work with any other criminal lawyers, which I don't want to make this about Amiga Digital, but that's what I'm faced with. So what would be some tips and strategies for growing and growing a scalable business, which I don't know much about?
Yeah. I mean, you do have to. I mean, size wins. There's no doubt about it. And there is something to be said for building a bigger business. Like you get a better culture, you'll attract better people, you've got more money to redeploy. Like the benefits of being a bigger business far outweigh being a smaller business. I guess the challenge is the journey to get there. One of the things that's interesting for me, we're recording this coming out of COVID-19, now is a phenomenal opportunity across nearly every sector, because a lot of people are still a bit gun shy. They're like a rabbit in the headlights a little bit, and if everybody's like that, now's the time to move. So one of my thoughts is just simple: you need to start moving a lot faster. Everybody needs to start moving a lot faster, thinking bigger. If you had where you said you wanted to be in 2 years, let's make it 6 months. Right, that's the kind of jumps that we need to start getting on now, and you'll find that the proactive businesses, the people that are prepared to put in the work now, and they've got a clear path, and they do the activities, they're going to slingshot through their entrepreneurial journey, while everybody else is still a little bit dazed and taking time to dust himself off and get back on the horse. So that's what we're trying to push. We're trying to push hundreds of clients through. It's a go time. Don't listen to any news. Don't listen to the second wave propaganda rubbish. It's a go time. Government are giving out a heap of money. Everyone's cashed up. Let's go. And it's just helping people push. So I'd say two follow on things from that is marketing now. Like start investing in marketing much higher than you have now. Do more Google AdWords, run more Facebook ads, do more SEO, refine your website, do more outbound calls, set up strategic alliances, send lumpy mail. Just start to add those pillars to the business, because like I said, everyone else isn't. So your marketing will have a greater level of cut through. And the second thing is start employing, and stop thinking that employing's for a later date. Right now, it's cheaper and the talent pool is bigger because so many people have been laid off. Now's the time to get into the market, go find some talent, and push through to the next level.
And if to hire, would you recommend with those businesses without the capital to hire to get a loan and hire?
Yeah. So loans are interesting. I'm happy with borrowing. I've borrowed lots in my life to buy appreciating assets. I would only borrow when my business has proven that the fundamentals are great and that I'm basically just adding fuel to the fire. I would never borrow to fix a broken business, because you're just going to put more water in a leaky bucket. So if basically what I'm saying is, if you've worked out that you can ring 10 customers and, you know, get one sale and that's profitable, then yeah, borrow and put other people in there to do the same thing.
Right.
So if you've got a model that's profitable and works, then yes, borrow to scale it up. But there are other ways. You know, you can bring them in lower, give them a bigger commission base so that they can earn more. You can bring them in as partners. You know, there's a whole bunch of different ways around that. Give them some equity, do a profit share. You know, there's plenty of people out there that will take those kind of deals if you cast a big enough net.
Yeah, that's awesome, Wes. I mean, I'm taking that for myself, so that's awesome. I mean, with SEO, I mean, even to pump, just so if when the audience is listening, if when I get calls and they say, "Look, I can't afford what you're doing. Like, what value can you give me?" I'm like this is Google tells you what people are asking for. You just got to know where to look, right? So if I type something in, and you can do this across any industry, any vertical. I typed in just small business tips just before we went on this podcast. And just for yourself, I mean, people are asking, like Google says, people also ask after I typed in small business tips. And if you're running a blog and a YouTube video, this is how easy it is to make content that people are actually asking for. And it's, how can I make my small business successful? I mean, there's your seminar for, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I break down like 10 points on making a successful business, scalability, everything basically you just mentioned. Second question, like, what are the most successful small businesses? What small business owners should know? And how can I start my small business without any money? I mean, we already touched on these. These are articles that you for yourself can write, but you can do this across any industry. So people asking me, I don't know what to do for SEO. I'm like, start writing content based on what your target market is actually searching for, and here's how you do it. And I just give it away, because I rather them do their own SEO than to do black hat, dodgy, cheap, nasty SEO. So I'm like, I'd rather get you to a point where perhaps you can afford my services later on. If not, great, whatever. But here's some value for you. And I actually use this strategy, and I've got a case study on it. I know it works, and there's no excuses. Go and do a YouTube video and a blog article, mix them together, and to maximize your SEO benefits. And
everything is reverse engineerable, right? Because we live in a data-driven world. So, you know, like I've got a team that part of their role is to look through YouTube or just general Google searches, like you're saying, find out the key titles, right, that people are searching for, go produce a video that basically answers those questions and put them on our YouTube channel, right? We're youtube.com/kingdom business.
Yep.
And we're reverse engineering search tabs and topics for the sake of, you know, getting attention. And then, you know, once we've got their attention, then we say, hey, opt in for this freebie, and now we've got their email address, and then we, you know, like So you know, it's the game.
It's a game, and Google AdWords. I mean, I tell people it's a content marketing driven game. So the content marketing looks a little bit different on SEO as it does on YouTube, and actually because Google owns YouTube, there's a lot of overlap there. But with Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn, which is massive right now on the organic LinkedIn without any ads, because there just isn't enough content creators for the platform. So you're right, like my content just keeps getting recycled. Facebook, you post something, unless you run ads, it's gone. You might as well just throw it in the bin. It's a waste of time. LinkedIn, Wes, it just keeps showing my content all the time. Like, and people, and like I read an article, got 1,600 views. It just keeps coming back, and people keep liking it. I'm like, in Facebook, that would be dead. That'll be in the you know. And right now, it's doing really, really, really well. So I guess it just becomes, for the audience, a massive content marketing game, and knowing which content works for which platform.
Yeah. And I think, you know, like I basically built my profile off Facebook ads. Facebook organic 13, 14, 15, 2015, and then ads from then on. It's a tough game, though. It's a tough game now. And by the way, if you're running ads, it's a phenomenal game, but it's an expensive CPM versus some other things. You know, the organic reach on LinkedIn is obviously much, much higher, and you know, a few platforms like that. So yeah, but I think, you know, But
Sorry,
to
go
do
on.
it really well, like to do it really well now, and I think a lot of people have prioritized the wrong thing in business. I think you need to prioritize reach and awareness, and so to do it now, you do need to kind of shoot native content, right? So this is my kind of Facebook feel, this is my LinkedIn feel, because they could be very different. You know, here's the stuff I'm putting on my blogs, and here's my freebies. So we do have to kind of produce a lot more content, I think, to dominate.
Absolutely.
But like, I mean, I'm not a great writer. I mean, I've written a couple of books, but I need a bit of help to finesse them at the end. But I can do a video, and then I can have somebody kind of rewrite it as a blog article and put it on a website, and then I get to hit two modalities. Some prefer to watch, some prefer to read.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've just launched a second business just because I want to learn it's called Meow Express, and it's selling clothing around little feline animals, targeting adults and babies. And the reason I've just launched it, Wes, is just because I've only ever worked. I worked for Bing Lee. I've done Nutrition Warehouse. I've worked for online retailers before, but I've never actually delved into it. And it's a print on demand based business, so there wasn't a whole lot of startup capital required. I just want to learn, if nothing else, I just wanted to learn the whole B2C sales cycle and how to run a product based business, just because it's going to help me run Omega Digital. Right. And I'm looking forward to the mistakes to make. It doesn't fear me anymore. And I think this is my way to sort of pay my way in. I don't see it as I'll be spending $200. And already on Facebook ads, I can spend $60 and still get in front of 5,000 people. With SEO, ridiculously much higher. $60, lucky it gets me 1,000 people, which is a very high CPM for Facebook ads. So I just think that, depending on the industry you're in, but with Facebook, you definitely need to run ads. LinkedIn, you probably can still get away with it, but how you mold the content. So I just love it, man. I just love like starting it and seeing basically what happens from here on end, and people wanting to ask me questions. Like, I'm used to B2B, so everything has to be a sales proposal, has to be a sit down lunch, dinner. You got to schmooze them, right? Whatever the case is, you got to call them, follow ups. B2C is just, hey, do you have this in the size 20 or size 10? And I'm like, and what's been a mindset shift is they can buy my cat shirt, but they can also buy my competitors' cat shirts. And in the B2B world, it's like you get SEO with me, you don't get it from multiple other people. So it's been a massive mindset shift, and I've just launched it, and yeah, I just thought I'd tell you that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, well, cool. So what do you find is the top business mistakes for startups in the first 12 months of operation?
I think
obviously most of them fail.
Yeah. I think we covered a large one before, and that was, kind of like on the money thing. I think a lot of people get scared to invest, right? Like they if they've got a little bit of capital or whatever, they're like, oh, I don't know where to spend it, and I don't want to spend it. So do I get a website? Do I get a cheap one? And the entire conversation is wrong. It's like you in the first 12 months. You should try so many things that you burn through your money and fail forward and fail quicker to work out what works to set you up for the next year. Holding on to the little bit of like, let's just use some crazy numbers. Let's say somebody started their business and they got $10,000, and then they're like, oh, well, I need to do this, and I need to do this, and I need to do this, and I kind of can't do it. For me, I'm like, you want to make those mistakes as fast as you can, because you're going to have to make them. Right. You could probably learn some things and get some coaches or whatever to shortcut it, but you're gonna have to get in there and do that. You have to run an SEO, you have to run Facebook ads, you're gonna run, and so I think that money of 10 grand doesn't change your life, right? You can't keeping it does not change your life at all, one bit. So you need to put it to work so that you could get to the other side of the learning, so that you could start to make that 10 grand into 100 grand and a million and keep going, right? So I think that's one mistake. The other thing I see is people that don't stay committed from a time perspective. Like, if I was to line up all my friends that have built successful businesses and ask them what their work ethic looked like in the first 12 to 24 months, they would say that they bled out of their eyeballs to get it to work. Whereas I see a lot of people who are saying, I'm trying to build a lifestyle business from day one. They're always statistics, right? It takes so much intensity and focus and ethic to get enough momentum to build it. That's what those people don't get, right? So you know, like I'll say to people, you know, what are you doing with your business? And then when I audit their time, you know, they'll be like, oh, I'm going on holiday this week, and then I serve on church on Sunday and Saturday and music on Wednesday, and I'm like, listen, you've got to split focus. You know, it just doesn't work. You know, if you've got a family, obviously they're more important than the business. So then you just got to do family and business, but you've got to say no to everything that steals your time and just get in there and work the business. And maybe that's not 1 year, that's probably 4 or 5 years like that. But if you do it, then your business will build to the point where you can have all the time to go and do whatever you want, right? So the payoff's brilliant. But I just see people that they're just not laser focused and intentional and making the most out of their time. You know, I mean, you made a comment on my YouTube channel and I replied and you replied and that was me. You know, that was, I can't even recall, but that was probably like, you know, 11 p.m. one night last week. Why? Because I just stole 3 minutes of my night and went reply, done. You know, like, but a lot of people are like, oh no, I finish
I'm
at
finished
this
for
time, I'm finished for the day. All right, well, everyone else isn't finished for the day, so you're going to lose. So I just think that's, you know, you just got to, like, I mean, when I first got married, we didn't take a holiday for 7 years, right? You know, a family holiday. And we did little weekends away or whatever, but we didn't do a big family holiday. Why? I was focused on building the business, right? I worked some pretty long hours in those early years. And so outside of working, I had to really prioritize my family, and that was it. You know, and even to this day, like apart from family and apart from business and my church, I don't do a whole lot more, because if I took up golf, it's going to hammer my family time, and I'm just not interested while I've got young kids. So I don't know. I just say to people, just prioritize a lot more and get focused on what you've got to do and go all in with it. And you know, and then in 5, 6, 7 years or longer or whatever, then the business is probably built. You can get some of your time back. You can get some money out and enjoy life a little bit.
Yeah, and knowledge isn't power. Power is execution. You mentioned in one of your videos that, you know, if you've got that spare $100, what stuck out for me in one of the videos, and I watched a lot of your content, was, you know, if you've got that $100 or you got that $1,000, you don't need that TV. You don't need that. Do you really? It's run Facebook ads.
Our key phrase is stop spending money on dumb stuff, right? Like we say it to our clients all the time. And you know what? I think COVID has, like, there'll be many, many, many blessings that come out of COVID. And one of them is we couldn't spend, right? You know, the shops weren't even open, right? You know, you couldn't go down and do that. You couldn't go to your favorite restaurant and burn money. So I think it kind of did force a lot of people into forced savings. Because just going back to the trends that I see, like the amount of people that enter my world and they're like, they get a little bit of success and the next thing they're out on a cruise boat, you know, and we have a few key phrases. One of them is cruising's for losers, right? And I don't necessarily mean it is, but I just hate it when somebody is in startup land that first 5 years and they're out spending $2,000 or $4,000 or $8,000 on a cruise. I'm like, do you know, like if you are like even coffee costs you $5 a day if you only have one, right? That's 1,000 impressions on Instagram ads, right? So what do you need most right now? Do you need a coffee, or do you need 1,000 people to have seen your message about your business so that you might get a sale and turn it into $250? That's how entrepreneurs need to be thinking, instead of, you know, fake it till you make it, which has never made anybody anything. Right. So we don't need large bits of money, right? You need to stop spending money on dumb stuff. And then for some people, right, you know, like I've played this game. We make our clients sell all the stuff in their garage they haven't used for 90 days. So we play this game, right, when we basically get them to walk in their garage and anything that's not bolted down, they literally take a photo and stick it on eBay and sell it and turn it into cash. And they take that cash, put it into the machine of the business to get customers with it. Then they blow up their business. You know, like most people have got that bike that they bought one summer because a friend did and they were going to get fit, and then they saw themselves in Lycra and decided never to ride again. Or they, you know, or their friend bought a stand-up paddleboard, so they wanted one, but they used it once, fell off, and now they're like, the water's too cold, so I'm never going back out. Like, you just don't need that stuff. If you bought it for
No.
$900, flick it for $350, put that into the machine. So that's how entrepreneurs think, and that's it's just one of the.
But I think entrepreneurs is a very unique mindset. I mean, you might be on the side of the discussion that believes that you can probably teach entrepreneurship, and there's the other side that says you've either got it or you don't. Side
you can teach it. There's 100% you can teach it.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, okay.
I've seen it. I've seen thousands of people come into our world saying, "I've just left my job and I don't know what to do." And before you know it, they learn it. I wasn't born with it. I was probably born with enough front to be able to talk to people. That was probably, but that was it. Like I never went to university. I didn't have the disadvantage of an MBA. Just literally just did it, ground it out by accident. Yeah. Trial.
And I would recommend, when you I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment for over 2 years with my wife and my son. And when you live in a 1-bedroom apartment, you really realize how much crap you don't need.
Don't need. Well, I reckon I can checkmate you there, because in 2016 I sold everything except real estate, got into a caravan, and spent 2.5 years traveling Australia with my family, speaking to business groups around the country. And then you really realize what you don't need. Right? 2.5 years in a caravan around Australia, speaking to 70 evening workshops around the country. I remember we sat down with the kids and we said, you can take one toy. That was it. One toy, because that's all we've got room for in this caravan. And anyway, I reckon you're right. I reckon we really don't need much.
No, you don't.
Around us.
I'll be happy to show you my garage. It's filled with Woolies bags that we just can't get rid of.
Yep.
And a lawnmower that I was hesitant to buy. I still haven't. I've been here for a year. I struggled to buy crap that I need for the house. So for me, I just a minimalist. I just realized that what makes me happy is the relationships that I build and the people that I know and the value that I can bring. And this is not preaching. It's who I am. It's the relationships that I love. And I can get into my problems with Amiga if you like. But one thing I do well is I keep clients. I've always struggled. I've been in business for 8 years, and the only reason I've survived, Wes, is because I can keep them. But I have big troubles acquiring them. So that's where I've identified that. It's taken me 8 years to realize where my strengths and weaknesses are. I spent like 25 grand in the first year in 2012 with no education, which is not what I recommend. But I've grown a lot. Like, I started when I was 24, and I had my desk next to my bed, and like I said, I made a lot of mistakes, but I love it. I love the fact that what I love the most is that I can sink my teeth into someone's real livelihood and actually help them build something and be a part of that story. I don't know. That's just, for me, what I want to do for my work. Like the relationship part, and like keeping my jeweler for 8 years without a contract, just because and look, it's not always results. You can't see my hand. It's not always results are going up for over 8 years in SEO. I mean, we ranked first for engagement rings on Google, above Michael Hill and Tiffany. And believe me, they have $1 million budgets, and he wasn't paying me millions of dollars. But that was a highlight. But it took a long time to get there, and even then, it starts dropping off. But I found that the clients will stay with you in those peaks where it drops off if they believe you truly care. And I've sort of learned that that's what a client will stay with you for 8 years on your passion and dedication to their success. I mean, what else is it about other than what can I do for others, sort of thing? So
it's all about.
So, mate, I don't know how much time you have. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I find that you mentioned another video about indecision. Now, I suffer a lot from indecision. I'm a procrastinator. Right. So I'm the worst kind, right? Not only am I indecisive at times, and it drives my wife nuts in our personal life.
Not only are you indecisive, but you put off being indecisive. That's amazing.
I procrastinate on procrastination. Yeah. So it's when I can go bang, like I'm doing it, and then I'll go. But it's getting into that, like that book I've got to read, I put it off. Unless I feel like it's for some higher purpose, I don't move my feet.
That's the key. You have nailed it. That's see, for me, I'm just so hungry. I'm so hungry that it makes my decision-making process faster. I want my vision so bad that it gets me out of bed every morning, and it gets me doing the things I want to do, and it gets me making decisions, and it gets me moving forward. So I think unless there's a higher purpose, unless you've got a vision, unless you're doing it for some big cause, then it's very easy to be procrastinating, right? Because it's a values shift, right? So for me, I'm a Christian. I fully want to get to the end of my life and hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And I know I kind of have a glimpse of my potential, and I'm not there. And so every day I want to get up and try and get closer to being, to my potential. And so that's what stops me having procrastination. It's because I have so much value on the end game that I can't not play at 100% to get there. That's how I have been able to get to the point where I can make decisions. Now, practically, come down to the decision-making process. I think practically it's hard to decide when you don't have a clear vision, because you don't know what to line up to. If you've got option A or B, they both look good. If you actually have an end point, you can line up A and B and go, okay, which one's most likely to get me to my end game? One of them will jump out to you. That's obviously the decision. The other thing I would say is, especially if somebody's in their first 5 years, just pick one, right? Just pick one, because it really won't matter. I see people deliberate for 4 months on which blue to put on their business card. Are you kidding me? No, that decision will have no relevance to your business in 5 years' time, right? And my team, I walk around here going all the time, will that matter in 5 years? Is the question I ask myself. Will that matter in 5 years? If not, pick one. If it does, maybe I need to give it a bit of time and do some more research. But if it's not going to matter in 5 years, pick one. And coming back to mistakes, people say to me, I'm scared of making mistakes. I say to them all the time, I mean, don't be concerned about the mistakes you've made. You're going to make way more in the future. Right? Just to give some perspective, a lot of people get hung up on the mistakes they've made, right? Made a bad decision, bad partnership, whatever. Don't be worried about those mistakes you've made. You are going to make way more.
Yeah.
So now let's just plow through them as fast as we can. I kind of think to myself, maybe the average entrepreneur needs to make 5,000 mistakes in their life before they build a business. Well, I want to get through those in the shortest possible time. So just pick one. Facebook's culture was move fast and break things. And I really like that from the perspective of I've just got to keep pounding this thing out. And no decision is a decision, funnily enough. No decision is a decision. So I would rather pick A when I should have picked B, but because I'm moving forward, I can transition back to B, right? So just by having that forward momentum, I can pivot, move, change. You can't do that though when you're spending 4 weeks to work out, what button color should be on your website.
I sat around thinking, where can I put the name of the business in 2012 was APG Web Studios. I was thinking, I should buy some pens with APG Web Studios on them. I should buy mouse mats with the stupid logo on it that only I see anyway. And thinking that if I'm going to win a client with a pack that just says my business name, who cares, right? And this is coming from a marketer, right? So I had to what was I thinking? And I find that, when you get into business, you really have to be prepared for an uncomfortable life. And I think, if I join your service, I want to work up the courage because I'm an extrovert. So if you find me in the park and there's 10 people or 50 people that say, "Hey, Andrew, come and talk to us," I'll get up on that stage and talk because it's in that moment and I'll do it. But knowing that, 2 weeks, even this podcast, where you have no idea how nervous I was about this podcast.
You're doing a good job. You're doing a great job, Andrew.
Thanks, man. I want some feedback. Thank you. I want some ways I can get better. But if you caught me, we were at Bunnings having a snag, I would be much, much more relaxed, much more conversational. My mind won't freeze up. But I really wanted the ability to be able to go, I can talk. My fear is to talk, and I'm an extrovert, and I can normally talk to people no problem. I don't know how the introverts do it, but to stand in front of people and do what you do and speak to 2,200 people, that's something that will be a massive breakthrough in my mental mindset shift. But I've learned in business that when I've got the biggest gains is when I've gone and take risks. And even if they backfired, I've learned. Either I learned or I profit. So
you got to remember, it wasn't 2,200 people at the start.
No, it wasn't. I bet
it was 6. Like
Yeah.
it was 6 and then 23 and then 100 and then 400 and
Yeah.
like so. And the thing for me, I think I mean, when I think about that, that still puts some people off. What makes me thrive? I'm just so hungry for the outcome that nothing's going to throw me off on the short term. I mean, I can't say I don't get nervous. I mean, I don't get nervous about, something like this, but if I'm going to walk out on the stage in front of, a massive audience of people that have bought a ticket, like I do get a little bit like, man, I've got to deliver, I've got to bring my A game. And that lasts for the first 5 minutes. And then we go into 2 whole days where we're fine. So I wouldn't say that there's no nerves. There's a little bit there. Why? Keeps you good. But ultimately, why do you push through those things? Because you're hungry. If you want it and you can see it and you can taste it and you've got a big reason, you'll do it.
And what would you think would be the best reason to start a business?
Well, I can only put this through the lenses of my faith. I believe that businesses are calling. I believe that some are called to pastor a church, and that's wonderful. It's a great place if that's what you're called to do, but it's not the highest call that you can have as a believer. The highest call you can have as a believer is to do the thing God's called you to do, right? So I actually believe that business is a call of God, and God wants to redeem the marketplace. And he's not going to redeem the marketplace by leaving it vacant. He's going to redeem the marketplace by getting entrepreneurs who have caught the kingdom of God, who take that as their operating system into the marketplace and just start to change the conversation and influence the way business is done. And get rid of this corrupt Babylonian, system that we have and start to bring kingdom business, which is when you start to do business so that everybody prospers.
Awesome.
Like I think that's the I don't know. I only speak to Christians in business. I don't know what would cause somebody else, if they weren't a Christian and didn't have that framework, what would be a reason to start a business? Probably self-interest, I suppose. That's why I think kingdom business is so valuable, because it's not an economy based on self-interest. It's an economy based on, I'm going to produce more money than I need so that I can work out, some good social justice issues or some good causes or fund my church or fund some projects. And I'm going to use my business profits to do that. And that's what's going to be a blessing to society.
Absolutely. And when I started to, through my church, go and deliver Christmas, like I've never done that before, knocking on doors and delivering Christmas hampers, seeing the contribution and the smiles. I'm not saying this to be sanctimonious, but I mean, the feeling you get, it's almost selfish. I mean, I never forget it. Like just bringing things that I think, what can I do? Like how's this little hamper going to make a big impact? But it does. It did to somebody, and it did to multiple people. And I just think that whole level of contribution is an enormous part of, I think, self-fulfillment and success. Again, that's why I wanted to set up this exclusivity. I didn't want to focus on having too many clients, and I just wanted to focus on choosing the clients I believe I can deliver value and build it that way. So anyway, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time, Wez. Thank you so much for joining me, mate. Did you want to have a last say? Maybe you can give me some feedback on what I can do better.
Well, I think you're doing a good job. Just by the fact that you want to push through your comfort zone is amazing. Like you've just got to listen. You didn't learn to walk by getting up once and nailing it, right? Like the way a kid learns how to walk is they crawl up to something and then they take a few steps and they fall over, and then they learn how not to do it and then they get up and do it again. No parent looks at their kid after they get up once, fall over once, and says, you're going to be a crawler for the rest of your life, right? We champion them to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. It's the same thing with anything. And that's what you're doing, right? You I don't know, you're probably than the first one you ever did, the first episode, and you'll be doing a better job and so that's fine as long as you're just marginally better. And then in 10 more you'll be marginally better, and you just got to push through. And so don't beat yourself up. Just go and get amongst it and stay amongst it, and you'll get some level of mastery as you go. So I think you're doing a good job. I'd love to connect with any listener. That's just one of my passions, is I just love connecting with new people. And so there's a couple of ways to do that. People can go to youtube.com/kingdom business, or just the website, kingdombusiness.com.au. There's a bunch of free resources on there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Wez. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we can speak again soon.
Yeah, bless you, Andrew. Cheers.